Hello, everybody. Sam Davidson here with MEA Worldwide. We are inside. We are quarantined. We are being safe. We hope that all of you are too. I have a very special guest today from one of my new favorite shows, John Marshall Jones, Paradise Lost on Spectrum TV. Wow, it is a fantastic show. How are you doing?
Listen, I'm doing great. I want to send some love and blessings to everybody out there to, stay safe. One of the things about this condition that we're dealing with is that a lot of it has to do with the level of your immune system. And so people who obviously have compromised immune systems are the ones that are most vulnerable. But something that everybody can do is, take extra vitamin C and vitamin D, because we all know that that helps to boost your immune system. And so, while we're at home kind of feeling, we're not sure exactly what we can do to help this process, you can definitely boost up your vitamin C and vitamin D intake of you and your family and help to protect yourselves in that way.
And what have you been doing to keep busy? I'm assuming, you and your family are safe and good to go right now.
Um, you know, I've been working very hard with a mentorship program called Kappa League, and we have a channel, kappaleague.tv. It's the oldest and most successful African-American male mentorship program in U.S. history. It was founded in 1922. And one of the things that we're doing is we are working really hard to keep the young men engaged, because you have teenagers that are used to being out and about and at school that suddenly have to be at home. And yet they can't lose sight of the prize. So this will be over at some point. You have high school to go on with, you have college to go on with. How do we help them to not lose sight of the prize? So one of the things that's coming up now is we are working along with the Black College Expo, which helps to give students exposure to the historically Black college system. And this Friday, they're doing the Black College Expo Live, which is, instead of having different cities that they're going to, they're doing the whole thing online, where kids can literally come online and get accepted into college that day. So if you're a student and there's been a disruption in your college application or acceptance process because of COVID-19, it seems to make more sense to stop in and find a way to get into college now, rather than kind of dangling and waiting for the system to work itself out. So that's one of the main things we're working on right now.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for the work that you're doing. That's really, really cool. I am so excited because I keep on telling people keep on asking me what to watch. And I'm like, you need to watch Paradise Lost. It is so good. Your character surrounds a big mystery and a lot of the drama that goes on. How much backstory were you given about your character, or were you kind of finding out more about your character as the scripts came in?
I wasn't given a lot of backstory. That was something that, we kind of created more as we went along, as we got more of an understanding of where the scripts were going. But the character and his backstory are so central to the premise of the piece itself, that there was a lot to work on right away from the beginning. There was a lot of information. Because everything kind of satellites off of this incident that my character was involved in.
Yeah, so tell us about how your character's past really kind of reflects and triggers the present events that are going on in the town.
Well, here's the thing. Art often imitates life.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a justice system that has historically imprisoned African-American men with, spurious evidence, and especially in the South. So this happens again in this story. This gentleman is imprisoned with spurious evidence and has really been committed and vocal about his innocence, right up until his niece, who was 10 years old at the time of his imprisonment, emerges now at 25, 26 as a investigative reporter, and decides to go back and start digging up past dirt so she can prove that her uncle is innocent the way he said he is. Except for that, he knows what kind of criminality there is out there. And the people who she's going to expose by digging all this stuff up are not the kind of people you want to expose. So the fact that he knows that he's innocent, but he doesn't want her out there trying to prove it, but he can't stop her. And Danielle Deadwyler is an amazing, amazing young actor. And when you see her and the interaction with what's going on in the town and her dogged determination to prove her uncle's innocence, it is deeply, deeply compelling. And I agree with you. I think it's one of the best shows that's going to come out this year.
Yeah, I also interviewed Gail the other day, who is also fantastic. Tell me a little bit about how your relationship with your two nieces grows throughout the season, because you guys hadn't had a relationship for so long, and what kind of triggers that growth?
Well, we hadn't been in contact. So with Gail's character, I didn't have any contact with her at all, right? But with Danielle's character, we did have periodic contact, which then informs their relationship, because Gail just thinks I'm guilty. And Danielle is completely convinced that I'm not. And Danielle has to pull on Gail's character to help her to prove that I'm not guilty, even though Gail's character doesn't really believe it. And so there's an internal conflict between the sisters that's going on. And as more evidence comes out, that relationship grows, and that's how it changes in how they relate to me in prison.
And there's this question that still wasn't necessarily answered for me by the end of the season, which was, is there a supernatural entity at play, or is this just a very creepy town that is very kind of based in religion, and that gets turned into something that might seem a little bit more spooky than it really is? Like, what are your opinions on that?
I think that the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive, and that you can have a town that's steeped in old religion, and yet there's another part of the town that is steeped in the supernatural. And the coexistence of those two, and everybody trying to keep all of that underneath the surface, is really part of the main conflict of this town. So I think those two things are happening simultaneously, and that is going to take some time to unwind it.
Interesting. I like that answer. And so we obviously don't know if there's going to be a season 2 yet. Fingers are crossed. The episodes just came out the other day. But if there were a season 2, what are your hopes for your character, and kind of discovering more about him? Because I'm assuming if there will be a season 2, your character's story will still be extremely important. And was that discussed at all on set?
It was not discussed on set, but I agree with you that season 2 would seem to be the unfolding of what we just talked about, which is this this cross-pollination of religion and the supernatural. And my character is right in the middle of that, and has some perspectives that only he'll be able to explain. And there are some truths that only he knows, that he'll now be able to confront people with, that he hasn't been able to confront since he went to prison 15 years ago. And that in itself could be a very interesting twist for the story.
It certainly would. And besides Paradise Lost, of course, there are rumors swirling about a Smart Guy reboot. Everybody loved the show. Has anyone been talking about that more, or are you considering it more?
There are conversations about it that are more than just conversations. That's all I could tell you right now. But there is a true groundswell throughout social media of, you know, millions of people that grew up watching Smart Guy that are now adults and are looking at television and saying, how come we don't have something like this for our kids? There's a lot of people that grew up on Smart Guy that are now parents
Mm-hmm.
and are concerned about the quality of programming that is on television for their children. And so they've been reaching out to say, hey, what are you guys going to do? So we are in conversations, and the conversations are real. And so we'll see how that works out.
It's very exciting. Anything else in the works for you currently while you're quarantined? I mean, things are put on pause, but do you have anything you hope to get back to after this is over?
Well, there's a couple things. One, I have a project on a new app called Quibi.
Yeah.
It's called 50 States of Fright, and it was directed by Sam Raimi, who directed one of the Spider-Man movies. It's also starring Rachel Bresnahan from Marvelous Mrs. Maisdale and Travis Fimmel from The Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched it last night, and it's outstanding. It is, you know, it's one of those things where as an actor, you're watching it and you forget that it's you because you're so caught up in the story. Every time I saw myself on the screen, it was kind of surprising because the story was so strong. And then I also have a project called For All Mankind, which is on Apple TV Plus. And season 1 is already up. Season 2, we were in the middle of shooting when, you know, the Corona apocalypse hit. And so, you know, like everybody else, they shut us down just before the end of season 2. So I'm hoping that that we can kind of get some understanding of what's actually going on with this virus, so that we can all kind of figure out a way to continue with our lives.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well,
This is not sustainable. We're doing what we need to do,
mm-hmm.
but we can't do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of that we as the wealthiest country in the world cannot figure out a way to produce enough tests so we can know who has the virus and who doesn't is extraordinary to me. It's astounding to me. You know, we just released a $2 trillion stimulus package, but we can't figure out how to get enough money together to mass produce these tests in a way that'll make it effective for the American population.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that that's what's coming up so that we can all kind of, you know, get back to our lives.
Me too. Me too. Well, thank you so much for your time. And if people want a new show to binge, I promise you this one is so good. Paradise Lost. You can stream all 10 episodes now on a Spectrum TV. And please stay well, John. It was a pleasure talking to you.
I will. And also, if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can reach me at John Marshall Jones on Instagram. And you can also come to see kappaleague.tv. And you can see some of the extraordinary works of these, you know, teenagers who are out in the community doing positive things. And there's a lot of people that get an image from the media of African-American teenage males, and it's an image with a hoodie and with their pants sagging down and a level of social aggression that that could make somebody uncomfortable. And yes, that does exist, but it's not the entirety of the African-American community. And part of the thing that we want people to be able to see is these African-American teenage boys, 15, 14, 13 years old, creating their own news reports, sitting at the news desk, reading the copy, out into the world with a microphone, interviewing people that are doing tremendous, courageous things in their community. Because when you give a young man an opportunity to tell his own story, he gets to develop the narrative of who he really is. And that's how we get past some of this misunderstanding between Black and white, and the misunderstanding between gay and straight, and the misunderstandings that we have between all these different segments of our society that gets us away from the idea that we're all human beings, we all deserve the same amount of respect and dignity and compassion. And I hope you guys can come over to kappaleague.tv and see that that's what's going on over here. We're doing everything we can to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Don. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Sam.
Good one.